Today, I want to learn about tech startups in a nutshell. This popped up on my feed and seemed funny, so let's see what this guy has to say.
Airbnb, Uber, FTX. Besides exploitation and ruining society, what do these companies have in
Listen, getting food to your door in 20 minutes or less, if that's ruining society, then bring it on, buddy.
common? They're tech startups. You see the hype on Twitter. You see these logos everywhere. You see how dumb tech startup CEOs are. And you start wondering, maybe I should start a tech company. And given the state of the job market,
You have to remember, you only hear from the 1% of the 1% of founders. Most founders never make it, and most of the ones that do make it, yeah, they're busy working. They're not on Twitter, typing with their thumbs, doing a bunch of stuff. These are the people that have more money and time on their hands than they should have of either. It's like less money and back to work.
better than doing nothing. Every good startup starts with a visionary con artist, otherwise known as a CEO. But
As Tim Dillon would say, it's all fake business until it's real business. So technically, these guys are all doing fake business.
in tech, it's called a founder. So your first step is to think like a founder. Remember, you're not unemployed. You're a CEO.
You're not making money. You're just pre-revenue. Your product isn't incomplete. You're just pre-product. We give these little fancy terms, but the truth is, like in startup land, they actually make sense because you're not saying, oh, I'm pre-accounting firm. It's like, yeah, we already know how to start accounting firms. That's been, tracked for years and years and years. When you're offering something new, you're pre-product because who even knows if it's going to be a product? You're pre-revenue because it's not that you haven't made revenue. It's, can you even make revenue? Like, do people really want this? Or is this just something that you're trying to push, but doesn't actually have that real demand?
All great tech founders have one thing in common, a Patagonia vest
It's called Patagucci.
and an ego the size of a JavaScript bundle. At this stage, forget everything you know about programming. Your job isn't to be useful. Right now,
Programming's
you should focus
overrated.
all your energy on posting random quotes on Twitter. And if anyone asks what your company does, say you're in stealth mode. Back in the day when being a CEO
There's no issue being on Twitter all day long if you're a founder, as long as you're actually getting something out of it, which in this case, if we're talking founder things, it means customer discovery or leads. If my CMO's on Twitter all day long, but we're not getting any leads, we're not getting any brand engagement, we're not learning anything, well, what are we doing? Are we just socializing? Are we just being active to be active? I'm not saying we can't try things that don't pan out, but if our goal is to try something and we see it's not working, we shouldn't just keep sending memes into the abyss that is Twitter, right?
actually meant something. You needed to have experience at big companies, domain expertise, and maybe a degree from a real school. But as a tech startup founder, all you really need to do is post quotes on LinkedIn, call yourself a 0 to 1 thinker, and watch a few videos from the Y Combinator YouTube channel. Before buying that AI domain and starting your GPT wrapper grift, you need to pick a target victim. Sorry, I meant a market segment. And there are two very broad markets. One is where you scam millions of people, $1 at a time.
That's much
This is
harder.
called business to consumer. Think of ethical giants like WeWork, Facebook, Amazon. If you can get
Solid
$1 from
companies.
10 million people, that's $10 million, and potentially a Senate hearing. Another great market is scamming entire companies. This is called
Much
business to
more
business.
efficient.
The beauty of B2B is that companies don't spend money, they spend budget. And budget is monopoly money that disappears every quarter.
As a CFO, I can assure you it's money. The difference is if you're spending your money, you count the money. Meaning if you had to go earn the revenue, and I'm advising you as a CFO, that's a very different perspective on whose money, how much we're spending, how frugal or generous we can be with our budget. If you're a 23-year-old who just raised $5 million from X, Y, and Z, VC fund that's, the biggest name in the world in the space, you just start burning. I remember seeing a founder said they spent $50,000 a month on DoorDash just to keep their team working. It's like, how big is your team? How much are they really eating? How much of this is really waste? How many of those people are actually being effectively utilized as far as are 80% of their hours actually going towards productive things? Or are they just, ping pong, door dashing and vibing and vibe coding 3/4 of the day before they take a 2-hour lunch? Like, is there a real good use for this money, or are we just spending money? Because if you're spending somebody else's money, this is what it looks like. You're spending your own money, tends to be a lot different.
So they'll happily pay $40,000 a year for your AI text-to-speech converter, as long as you call it an enterprise-grade linguistic enablement suite. Most of the time, you don't even need to build an original product. All you have to do is take something in the real world and make a bad clone. Like, look at Slack. It's Discord, but worse. And it got acquired for $27 billion. All right, now that you have a Patagonia vest, some clout on Twitter, a few buzzwords memorized, you need money to get this going. Now repeat after me. The first rule of startups is that
bootstrap.
We will not make money. You see, if you just started a software company and it made money, that wouldn't be a startup. That would just be a business. And with a business, all you can do is provide a decent life for yourself and your family.
Boo.
But you don't want that. You signed up to be supreme leader of the free world. You know at heart, you're a founder/CEO/TEDx speaker. Now at this point you might be thinking, wait, we haven't even written a line of code or built an actual product. And this is exactly why you're not a founder. The most important things in startups aren't good ideas, profitability models, or industry experience. It's PowerPoint slides.
Now the most important thing is demand. This is the classic. The more experience you get in founder land, the first time founder wants to build the full release before they give it away. The second time founder wants to build an MVP and do some testing and have some conversations. The third time founder wants to go do sales, marketing, discovery, and make sure that there's actually something worth building in the first place, because why spin up all this dev time? It's one of those, if you're building things just to build things, that's fine. But that's a project, not a business, not a startup. If we're building things in the tech side, if there's R&D going on, then it should be informed by what our customers want. And it doesn't mean we add 100 things, but it means we realize we're in a dance with our customer where we want to offer them this thing, or we want to solve this problem in this way. And we take input and feedback and learnings from them and help kind of craft a narrative that works well together, that lets us deliver on our mission, our vision, our goals, but also lets them actually feel good about paying for our stuff and using it and becoming a system that sticks, not one that just gets replaced at the next sales cycle.
To get out there and find the greatest designer from India or Indonesia and get them to make the best PowerPoint ever.
Thank God for
Fiverr. A
Fiverr.
bunch of people in suits to give you money based on your Twitter clout. Based on evolutionary science, these people are a new breed of leeches, known as venture capitalists. They'll give you real money based on imaginary shares, and then they'll call themselves business experts. Venture capitalists complete the first layer in your triangle of startups, which might resemble an MLM or a Ponzi scheme, but you can call it innovation. Now that you're loaded with cash...
The trick is never if it's a VC or not, because there are plenty of VCs that offer tons of value. It's, are they honest about their value, and are they really going to provide it, right? Most venture capital firms write you a check and then waste a bunch of time. A lot of them do. Just in the same way that most startups build something useless and then end up like, this isn't a criticism of VC. This is a reality of the world. Let me ask you, is every lawyer a good lawyer? Is every doctor a good doctor? It's like, no. Okay, well, that means that not everybody that does every profession is at the top tier of it. I don't think anybody should get too butthurt for that. But what it comes down to is when you're dealing with VCs, if they're going to give you more than just money, you want to make sure that it's real. You want to make sure that what you're not having is the guy who had one business success, which, mind you, is its own thing and very successful. But if you don't have a history of successfully building businesses or improving businesses, if you've only done the one, are you so certain that you should be giving that advice? Like, yeah, I know you've got bread. I know you've got all the money in the world to give yourself the appearance of giving this advice, but do you actually know what it means to be an operator in this new industry you're advising, in the new state of the market? How to think now that you have 100 million in the bank? Has your thinking changed and how you'd advise someone, a founder that's like you, that's very early in the process, that maybe has 100 grand in the bank? Like, there's a lot of nuance to being a good venture capitalist. And if you're just going to write the check, by all means, live your best life. But if you're going to do more, I just want to encourage people to be skilled in the areas and willing to actually do the work when you say you're going to do more.
You have an idea, you can finally start building. But remember, you don't...
Also, typically, you're not raising VC unless your dad or mom owns the VC, or your uncle's a partner, or you've been friends with a guy whose dad is involved or whatever in some capacity since high school, or you've got like good personal connects. Like, VC money comes after you've been proven, or if you have crazy high FOMO, crazy high connections, or crazy high luck. And when I say luck, I mean like winning the lottery today, tomorrow, and next Tuesday, that kind kind of luck. Like, it's very difficult. Much easier to go the bootstrapped route where you use your own money, get an first, test the market, second, bootstrap, build something, bring it to the market, validate that they want it, then go to venture capitalists, go to angel investors, do what have you, and say, hey, look at this thing that I've got in an okay form, and look, there's proof, look, there's activity. Now, will you give me $1, 2, 3, 4, $5 million so I can take it to the next level? That makes the conversation way more productive. And pro tip, it also means you don't have to give them as much equity. Because if you're pitching them at idea stage, you want $1 million, and let's say they're somehow interested, great, I'll do it for 33% of your business. It's like, yikes, 33% gone like that. That's a lot, when normally in rounds you're trying to minimize dilution and stay within like a 10 to 20% band. Beyond that, you just want to make sure that if you're going to approach these VCs and you can come with a better story, now that 33% dilution, instead of 1 million going into a $3 million business, it's 1 million going into a $10 million business, because you were willing to do the bootstrapping work, the customer validation work, the MVP, very slim, developed software or, offering to get to the market, because you did that grunt work, again, the proper founder way, shall we say. Now it makes these conversations worthwhile. It's not having the conversations that makes the company worthwhile.
You don't have to do anything. You have an idea, money in the bank, and an ego that can convince enough people to work for less than minimum wage.
I call it, what is it? I put in a newsletter. It's like Schrodinger's confidence. Every founder is supremely confident until you ask them the details and supporting evidence for their confidence. And then it all falls apart. They don't know how to do marketing, and their operations person hasn't responded, and someone's on the cap table that hasn't responded in 6 months. Like, all right, Mr. Posture, like, I get that things looked good. Now let's start solving some of these problems. And that's typically where I come in. That's why I'm so familiar with having this discussion, because I meet CEOs that are super strong and super confident, and they're on the stage and they have a suit and they have a mic, and then we get behind closed doors and I go, so how are things really? Like, how's this going and how's that going? And then you see them go, yikes. It's like, all right, well, this is happening and this is happening and I don't know what's going on here. And it's like, all right, now let's start to really reassess this thing and come up with an action plan.
You see those imaginary shares you sold earlier, you can now give them to employees as options. And this completes your third layer of the pyramid. Now with these options, you have to give them some motivation, so they forget they have a life outside of work, so they can do all the real work, like engineering, design, and support, while you go on podcasts talking about your recent multi-million-dollar funding round. And don't focus.
Founders that sit on podcasts and flex funding rounds, it's so lame. Like, there's a reason to do it when it comes to like getting PR. And if you're trying to do like business to business work, having good PR and, social presence, online presence is great. Because then when you go talk to people, you come off as very validated, a professional, like your business is legitimate to do business with. But if all you're doing is going on there to talk about your theories and your hypotheses and spit random facts that aren't supported by data whatsoever, I mean, you might be interesting for Joe Rogan, but it doesn't, like, nobody cares. Like, real founders, people that are really working, they're looking for information that will guide action, that will lead to results. They're not looking to, we're so excited that Andreessen Horowitz is like, I'm excited. I'd be excited if they were in a round of mine, but I'm way more excited about the work than I am the bank, right? They're just a bank. They're a fancier bank, but they're a bank nonetheless.
Focus on real numbers, like revenue, profitability, but some absolutely random made-up acronyms you've pulled out of nowhere, like DAO,
All
WOW,
acronyms
CAC.
are made up.
Here's a
Don't
bonus
sass
tip.
me.
If anyone asks what your tech stack is, just say serverless microservices on Kubernetes. And in case you ever run out of money, just go convince some more suits continuing the pyramid. And if they aren't convinced, shut the whole thing down, post a photo of yourself crying on LinkedIn.
It is pretty amazing. This is a horrible photo to pause on, but whatever. I've seen some founders, especially those like on Instagram and different people, well, they'll go raise a couple $100,000 to start some business. They'll test it for a few months and then shut it down. And I'm like, that feels so insane to me that that's how like frivolous they are with people's money. Like, they weren't willing to put their own money down, or they weren't willing to really validate it before they started spending hundreds of thousands. Then they're so committed to shutting it down. It's like, bro, try the thing. You're dealing with people's money. It doesn't matter. Again, if they don't care about it and you don't care about it, great. It must be nice to be, 1% of the 1% rich. but out of like respect for how we're supposed to do business, as far as supposed to meaning increasing the likelihood that it succeeds, maybe spending tons of money and maybe not doing this kind of product discovery work and customer discovery work, maybe those weren't the decisions to make. Maybe a little bit more effort and a little bit less social media would have taken you much further.
Blame market conditions, and say you're taking some time off for personal growth. Now, although picking a name for your startup might be hard, picking an app for everyday learning is made so simple. Thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Brilliant.org. Brilliant is an online learning platform with excellent courses on science and math. Learning a little every day is the simplest way to grow, and Brilliant makes that easy. Their courses are built around problem solving and not boring memorization. Brilliant has the perfect mix of fun problems, challenges, and habit-forming loops that keep you coming back.
I work on edtech
Thanks to their
platforms, so I'm
mobile
getting
app, I've
ideas
replaced mine
watching
with
this, which is
scrolling
quite
with fun,
nice.
rewarding learning. One of the most valuable skills today is understanding data, and Brilliant makes that so easy with an amazing data course, which covers everything from visualizations, algorithms, and models, and as a bonus uses real-world data sets. All the content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of educators. To try Brilliant for free, visit brilliant.org/bigbox.
What's going on with that
or scan
QR
the QR
code?
code on screen, or you can click the link in the description or pinned comment. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thank you so much to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and thank you for your time. I am Big Box.
I love it. It was all satire and whatnot, so I wanted to layer in a few like lessons and real, like the reality of what the world looks like from at least my perspective. And I've engaged with some fancy people, and I've engaged with people that are at the free networking events and just working to, build their dream. And I tend to see a lot more of what I'm talking about in the founders that succeed across the spectrum. They're the ones that get the PR attention for doing a lot of these types of things that are typically more well-funded, they have a lot more support from day one, shall we say, type founders that are quick to act more in these ways versus the ones that are, just the workhorses that are grinding every day. So hopefully it helps. See you next time.